Today in Photoshop, we're going to be learning how to create a composite of a surreal nature image. So we're going to be combining some natural imagery like a landscape or some kind of seascape with some other surprising imagery that makes it surreal or somewhat dreamlike or just out of the ordinary, something that's not possible in the real world. So I've created this composite here with my model Morgan, along with a tidal wave here, and then like a night sky and this image of this man in this boat. So I would say combine at least 3 different images. There is a variety. Here's the directions shared with you in Google Classroom. I've attached a link to a shared folder with a variety of shared images in it. You can build your own surreal composite image using any of these that I have provided with you, or you can even create your own using AI image generators such as Dream Studio AI or Adobe Adobe Firefly will also allow you to create some images that you can then pull from as source material. So to get started, we're going to start with one of my main elements here, which is the image of Morgan. So you can go File, Open the image here. I believe it's in my downloads somewhere. And then I'm going to kind of be using this as my background to expand from. So I like to always make a copy of my background layer, then I'll hide it just to make sure that it's there in case I need it. Now I'm going to be adding the man from this lake here. I just hit Command A. In order to select all, you can see that my marching ants are going around the entire image, and now I can hit Edit Copy. And again, I'm just going to be showing some basic compositing techniques that you can use, but it'll be up to you to determine which images you want to combine and in what way. So I'm not looking for you to recreate my version exactly. I'd rather you use some different images in some new and surprising ways. So I'm going to go back to my image of Morgan. Did I hit copy? Edit copy. And then on this image now, I'm going to paste my canoer below that top layer. So Command V, and you can see he's now down here. He's really small. I might make him bigger. Command T to resize. But I kind of want him down in the corner. I don't really want him right in the center of the image because I want it to look like he's sort of looking at my model here. So now I just need to expand the edges of this image. In Photoshop, there are some new AI tools that you can use once you're 18 called Generative Expand or Generative Fill. So just to show you what some of those do, even if you can't use them now, they're really cool. Someday you might be able to use them. So you might want to go to a library or something to be able to use these cool tools. But I would, select an area and say I want there to be maybe, I don't know, a sea monster or something coming out of the water. I could go up to Edit. I just used the rectangular marquee tool over here to select an area. But I could have done that with the lasso tool as well, just to freehand draw an area, however I want to make my selection. So now I go up to Edit, and then I go down to Generative Fill, and then I can type in this box literally anything that I want to be there, and it will give me like 3 different versions of it. So I might type in like the Loch Ness Monster or sea monster. Maybe I want it to be like purple in distance or something like that. The more detail you give to your prompt, the better results you'll probably get. And it thinks for a little bit. Oh, these are not great. But you can kind of see how AI is using some of its power to try and match what you wanted. And we kind of have some similar reflections there. So anyway, I don't really want that. So I'm just going to go up to Edit, and this you can do no matter what your age. So you can go to Edit Fill and then choose Content Aware Fill. So that will allow you to fill in the background using AI based on what's around it. So that did a pretty good job of just extending my parameters there. So let's do the same thing up here. And notice I overlapped my background just a little so that it can use that to help fill in what should be there. So hopefully it'll just continue that color on up. So edit fill, content aware. That's a great way to like extend your boundaries of your document. Okay, so now I have this little guy kind of looking at this bigger area here. I'm going to place my model in the distance. So I need to select her. I can select the subject by going to the object select tool and either like dragging a box around her or just clicking on the select subject option. Oh, notice I'm on the wrong layer. 9 times out of 10, if something's not working, it's because of what layer you're on. So Command D to deselect, go to the right layer, and then hit select subject, and it should do a much better job of finding her. Now I have add to selection checked up at the top, so I can just like click and add those extra little elements to my selection there. And that looks pretty good. So I can hit the mask button to make a non-destructive edit to this layer. So normally if you just, hit copy and paste, edit, copy, edit, paste, she would be on her own layer. But the downside of that is you do not still have the background pixels. So if you use the mask button, and I'm going to encourage you to use masking whenever you're compositing because they can tend to get kind of complicated, your documents with multiple layers. And it's nice to be able to go back and like borrow, for example, maybe I want to borrow some of the background of this in my composite later, and I don't know that right now. So for now, I'm just going to hide the background using this mask button down here at the bottom. So it's a rectangle with the circle in the middle, and any of these tools you can kind of click on, watch a quick video. So if you're confused by any of these tools, they have videos that like teach you how to use it. So I encourage you to take 30 seconds or whatever to watch the video if you want to know more about that tool. So I'm just going to hit the mask button, hides the background, and then you can see what I have on that layer. You can see it didn't do a perfect job, so this is where the mask can really come in handy. Notice that anywhere that's hidden is black on the mask, on this little thumbnail, and anywhere that is revealed is white. So I can paint, or I can add with whatever tool, like a gradient tool or whatever, I can add black or white to hide or reveal. So anywhere that I paint white, it's going to reveal that layer. Anywhere that I paint with black, and notice I just click this little arrow to switch the foreground and background color, I can hide. Now notice my opacity is turned down. If I turn that all the way up, then it goes a lot faster. I can hit my right bracket key or my left bracket key to adjust the size of my brush and just kind of edit that edge. Now I know I want this to be blending into that wave that I showed you earlier, so I might continue working on this edge, maybe lower the opacity a little bit. The edge is already pretty soft. Maybe I'll lower that all the way, and then you can adjust the size there as well. Yeah, maybe you want that a little bigger. Okay, so this is just going to kind of allow me to fog up that edge. Maybe I don't want that to be as extreme. And then I'm going to blend that wave into it. And then I can always go back, paint with white, and undo what I just did. So you can kind of go back and forth. Maybe I want a different type of brush to make that look a little bit more realistic. Now I notice that he's kind of getting lost in my wave here. I could also make Morgan smaller. So Command T. Make her look like she's a little bit more in the distance, maybe. She can still look surreal by being that big compared to him, without being completely all-consuming. And then I might place him at the top so that he looks like he's in the foreground once I start mimicking or messing around with the background. So I can click on his layer and use my object select tool again, just kind of drag a rectangle around him. There he is. It selected him pretty well. So I'm just going to do Command C, Command V, and then drag him to the top. So now he's the only thing on that layer. Here's the background. I might even label this man, background, Morgan. Okay, so now I need that wave in here. So I might go to my wave picture, Command A to select all, Command C to copy, or go up to edit copy. If you prefer the old-fashioned way here. Where's my, there it is. Okay, so now I'm just going to go edit paste. Now I see how small it is. It's okay to be behind the man. So Command T to make it a little bigger, and I want to just line it up kind of accurately with the dress. So I might need to lower the opacity over here on this layer so I can kind of see through it, so I can see how it's overlapping with my dress here. And I want it to flow. Maybe these waves are going to kind of be incorporated into her dress here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's a good size and placement for my wave there. Now I just need to turn up the opacity. And by the way, if you just want one layer showing through another with some special effects, you can use the opacity slider, or right next to that in the layers panel, you can change the blending mode, and this will apply a blend. Like, ooh, this is a really good way to make my wave only overlap where there's dark areas below it. And then you can also do the same thing with some of these other blending modes. They just add some special effects where your layers overlap. That one's kind of cool. Yeah, so you might want to try out these different blending modes. Screen tends to work really well. Yeah, I kind of like that. So if I add a screen blending mode, then what do I have to do? I could maybe add another layer underneath it, because wherever it's black is where it's showing. So then with my brush, I could just paint on that layer. Ooh, yeah, and there, it just like reveals the wave because of that blending mode that's on. So I can like make it darker in certain places. Like maybe I really want the splash going over here. And then what's going on up here? There's kind of a cool wave detail. Kind of filling that in. And then I don't really like this solid line here, so maybe I'll switch this to white. And then just, oops, that's not working. I guess I have to, oh, it's because of this layer right here. Okay, now it's getting complicated. Oh, I know. So on the layer with the wave, I could just add a mask, just a blank mask. So right now everything is revealed. So if I now switch to painting with black, that's going to hide. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. It's just going to hide from that one particular part. Some of those harder edges. Ooh, that's a nice soft edge there. It's overlapping your knee. Maybe something like that. Make it look more like a dress. Okay, something like that. Takes a little bit of practice. I think I'm going to put like a night sky up at the top. So on this layer with Morgan, so this is what's going on there. I like to turn my layers on and off to see what I'm working with. So on this layer, I could even paint with white and reveal some of that like marble tone around her, just to give some more texture to the piece. What's going on her face? Let's see. Which layer is that coming from? This layer. Okay, so then I gotta hide that part. So it just takes a little bit of back and forth. Hide that harsh line across there. And then maybe the harsh line on Morgan's layer too. Hide that. And I'll put like a night sky up there somehow. Okay, so there it looks like her dress is kind of becoming the wave. Maybe I would add some black or something up at the top. So I could keep building from there, but don't want to make this video too long. So the next thing I did in my other one was add the night sky. So if I come up here to the top layer, go File, Place Embedded. Let's see where the night sky was. I think that was under desktop. Yes. Okay, and then I want this small, I kind of want the moon to show, and then see how this edge of this cloud kind of catches the wave shape. So I really like that, but obviously this needs a mask on it, and then I'm gonna just hide it. So painting with black on the mask will hide, painting with white will reveal. So I'm clicking, clicking, clicking to kind of hide that harsh edge. So it kind of looks like it's catching the edge of that wave. And then that's a little harsh there. Okay. And then maybe I want just to add a blank layer. I'm just going to call this black. This will be my black layer. So now I can paint with black. So if you double click on the foreground color, you could choose a new color. And then maybe I'm just going to make kind of that shape that I had in the other one. Give it sort of some texture. I could use different paint brushes if I wanted to. Going under window brushes, you could choose from some different texture brushes. Maybe a pastel brush, see what that does. It's a little extreme. Maybe lower the opacity a little bit. That's definitely adding some texture. Not quite what I had in mind, but you can kind of play with it. All right. It's under special effects brushes. Ooh, some splatter brushes. That's definitely unique. It can kind of look like water if we change it to a bluish color. Okay, I could keep playing with it. Maybe connect it to this side of her dress. Okay. And then the next thing I added was a reflection of her legs. Oh, and I added like a darker area at the bottom to kind of take away some of the emphasis that that bottom edge has. So what I did was I added another picture of Morgan. So just on the top layer, went to File, Place Embedded, and added Morgan again. And again, you don't have to do any of these steps. These are just some different ideas for ways that I worked. I kind of troubleshooted my way through this project. So it's under Downloads. And then I just used the bottom half, and I needed to cover her legs because obviously I don't want 2 of her legs in there, or 4 of her legs in there. So I'm just going to select this area and try that Content Aware Fill again. So go up to Edit, Fill. The reason it's not working is because it's a vector graphic, so I have to right click and go to rasterize layer on the layer itself. Now it'll let me do whatever, painting, erasing, whatever I need to do. So I'm going to fill it, edit fill with Content Aware, click OK. And then now I can go ahead and hide the top half of this image. So I'm just going to add a blank layer, and this is called adding a blending mask. So we've been experimenting so far with painting with black or white to hide or reveal on the mask. Now we're going to use a gradient to blend from hidden to revealed. So if I just click and drag, you can see how I'm hiding the top half of that layer, and all you can see is the bottom half there. So now I want to add a blending mode because I want this to have a special effect. So let's see. So here's like some darken modes. Here's some lighten modes. Here's some overlay. Looks really nice. I might go back to that, but that's where it kind of creates some contrast. Yeah, so I think so far overlay was my favorite. Okay, and now my last step is to add her legs. So all I did was add another layer of Morgan. So this time File, Place Embedded. And I just flipped her upside down. So if you go to Edit, Transform, and we're going to flip vertical. Now I'm just going to try maybe lower the opacity over here with the opacity slider so that I can like see where the legs overlap. Maybe Command T to align them a little bit better here. And they don't have to be perfect. This is just a tutorial, just for fun. Okay, so there her legs kind of line up. Now we're going to select her legs, and then see if we can hide everything else. All right, so I'm just going to add a mask. Obviously, we don't want this big old chunky part there. So I'm just going to use the brush with black chosen. I'm painting on the mask, so I'm adding to the mask. You may notice that I'm doing this a lot just to kind of give some reinforcement. So hopefully you can start to understand how masks work and how working with masks can really help your composition. Okay. And then we might even go back to white and reveal like a shadow along that edge, maybe. Oops. Maybe just like that. Okay. Gives it some definition. And now that doesn't look super real. What I did to make this look like it's in water, I gave it some waves, gave it some kind of fluidity. So what we have to do is apply this mask. So you right click, it's a vector graphic, which is why it won't let me do it. So rasterize layer, then you click on the mask, and then you choose apply layer mask. So now there's no mask. You can't edit that anymore. But that's okay, because I want to add a filter of liquefy. So go up to filter liquefy, and now I just like paint the legs. I have the pressure turned about half, well, 34. The size is about that big. Density is kind of down, and then you can just kind of play with it. I'm going to drag this one this way a couple of times. So I'm sort of going in the same direction as if it's like a wave. Okay, and then this wave takes it that direction. So it's going to look kind of wonky. And then this wave takes it that direction. And you could turn up the density or the pressure if you want to make these changes a lot faster. I'm just trying to be subtle. Okay, something like that looks like water. Cool. And then it's a little too perfect, so I might lower the opacity, or let's try adding another blending mode. Just kind of click through until you find one that looks right. Maybe linear burn. And then I could like lower the opacity a little bit just to give it some more realism. And there's my final composite image, very surreal, of this man in a boat looking at this giant tidal wave person in the background. All right, happy photoshopping.